Disclaimer, this video is not aimed towards kids, so if you're a kid who's thinking this is going to be a video where I seriously analyze Mr. Tumble, you are gravely mistaken. This video is all a bit of fun, so don't take anything I have to say too seriously. I loved Justin Fletcher as a kid. Like, he is genuinely such an inspiration to so many kids, and I can't do anything but praise him for it. So yeah, don't take this video too seriously, alright? In the 16th century, commedia dell'arte was invented in Italy, the first look at slapstick comedy at its finest. In the early 20th century, our screens were dominated by legends such as Laurel and Hardy and Charlie Chaplin. And in the early 2000s, one man rose to build a world so complex, so funny, so rich in lore, that toddlers everywhere could not stop watching. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Mr. Tumble. For those of you who haven't been spiritually blessed by the masterpiece that is Something Special, here is a quick rundown of the show. Something Special is a British children's television show designed to be inclusive and accessible to all, particularly for children with learning disabilities and communication difficulties. The show focuses on teaching sign language to kids, which is very good, so well done Justin, you bloody legend. The format is a mix of live-action segments where Justin took children with disabilities on adventures and experiences, and it was super wholesome to watch back in the day, and it still is now. And the other parts of the show involved slapstick comedy featuring Justin Fletcher as both himself and his colourful, larger-than-life alter ego, Mr. Tumble. And that, my friends, is what we're going to be focusing on today. Mr. Tumble is a clown-like figure, and he's most recognisable by his spotty attire, specifically his spotty bag that possesses the superhuman ability to teleport. Like, I've never actually thought about it, but that is like some Marvel-ass shit, that's crazy. A large section of the show also focuses on Mr. Tumble's extended family, who consist of Grandad Tumble, who can assume to be Mr. Tumble's father, Aunt Polly, who is either Mr. Tumble's sister or aunt, Chef Tumble, who cooks shit, Lord Tumble, who's like the Lord of the Manor, and Fisherman Tumble, who fishes. There were like these little skits that popped up throughout the show, and they feature the Tumbles getting up to all sorts of shenanigans and hijinks. It is rather humorous indeed. Now on the surface you might think, well, there's not that much to uncover here. Mr. Tumble is just some spotty neek, and the production company just couldn't afford any other actors to play his family. But no. I personally believe there is more to the Mr. Tumble bloodline that meets the eye, and over the past few days I've been meticulously theorizing over the cinematic universe of Mr. Tumble, the TCU, and my findings have uncovered some of the many mysteries of the Tumble family. Where he came from, who he really is, and what his true aims really are. I've narrowed it down to a few main theories. One of them is the potential lore of Mr. Tumble's family, and another one, it's a big stretch, but bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that there may possibly be a Tumbleverse out there in the wide world. Right, we're getting ahead of ourselves, okay? Let's start at the very beginning. Start at chapter 1, The Tale of Mr. Tumble. So how did Mr. Tumble even come into the world in the first place? Well, luckily for me, I'd have to ponder on this question because CBeebies actually made a full-on stage show called The Tale of Mr. Tumble. It covers the early life, the childhood, and the teenage years of Mr. Tumble, and I've watched it through multiple times. Yes, I am that sad. So I could happily call myself a Tumble Pro. I know the entire history, the A to Z. But just in case you haven't dedicated a day of your life to watching Mr. Tumble, here is a rundown of his early life and career, as told in the Tale of Mr. Tumble. So the show opens with Grandad Tumble giving a little speech to the audience about his life before meeting Mr. Tumble. He then whips out the dusty old memory book and shows off some pictures of him as a lad, and it seems pretty freaking awesome actually. He was not only a granddad, but he was also a rugby player, a race car driver, and John Lennon. John Beetle. We then cut away to Grandad Tumble's rock and roll band where he sings an absolute fucking banger. Honk, honk, honk. Like, no joke, this song is sick. I would play it, but I'm scared of copyright. Actually, I'll sing it for you. I don't need coffee, I don't need tea. No toast or cereal for me. Need some orange juice, no way. I just go honk, 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 then I'm set up for the day. So we then return to Grandad Tumble as an old fart before getting our first look at Mr. Tumble as a kid. And this might actually be a picture of Justin Fletcher as a kid, like, I don't know, but that is an ugly child. No, that's horrible. Why did I say that? That's probably just like some random kid I've just insulted now. Shit. It then turns out that Grandad Tumble is actually a massive nonce, and he kidnaps this baby off the pavement. But this baby turns out to actually be baby Mr. Tumble. Holy Jesus. Baby Tumble then pisses all over the audience before Grandad Tumble cheers him up by singing the classic Hello, Hello song. And there's this moment where like the whole audience sing it, and it is genuinely one of the most wholesome moments in this entire show. Like, I know I'm basically insulting Mr. Tumble here, but he genuinely did raise like so many kids, and it's just really nice to see all these kids recognize him and look up to him like he's like Father Christmas or something. Like, I was watching some of Mr. Tumble's interviews. He is genuinely, or well, Justin Fletcher, not Mr. Tumble, but like he is genuinely one of the nicest people ever. Like, he seems so sweet. I really regret writing all of these horrible things about Mr. Tumble because he's genuinely so nice, honestly. Grandad Tumble then brings Mr. Tumble back to his shed, which makes no fucking sense, because if he's a so-called famous pop star, why is he living in a shed? A few years pass, and then we see a young Mr. Tumble come out in his iconic fit, and props to this kid that plays Child Tumble as well, because he's actually really good at playing the part. It turns out Mr. Tumble was a slow developing child, as he has apparently never spoken a word in his entire life. Then, all of a sudden, he just starts singing, which makes no sense at all. Like, if he's mute, he wouldn't just randomly come out with some absolute bars as his first words. He'd probably just make like random noises or something. I'm thinking too deep into this. Grandad Tumble tells Mr. Tumble that they're going to tour the world, which they do in a song. A very annoying and obnoxious song containing nursery rhymes, such as Wheel on the Bus and Wheels on the Train, which is definitely not a complete carbon copy of Wheels on the Bus. Grandad Tumble then comes back with the biggest fucking guitar case I've ever seen, just to pull out his little uke, because comedy, and then they play an acoustic version of his famous song, Honk Honk Honk, but no one gives a shit about it anymore, and they call him a knobhead and a silly old fool. Grandad Tumble then feels depressed and kills himself. No, not really. They return to the shed, drink hot chocolate, and puff some spliffs, before Grandad Tumble says he doesn't want to get laughed at, which makes no fucking sense because that's like the point of his existence as Grandad Tumble. They sit under the stars and gaze up into the art. Fuck off, not another song. Mr. Tumble's waistcoat then glows with stars, which is pretty cool. And then Grandad Tumble basically tells Mr. Tumble to fuck off and go to school, to which he responds by saying, alright mate, let's go. The school that Mr. Tumble is sent to is called Miss Erie's Emporium of Excellence, and it has very strict rules. So it's going to be perfect for this bumbling buffoon, isn't it? A bunch of dons come out playing trumpets, and then we're introduced to Miss Erie, who is basically Team U Trunchbull from Matilda. She shits herself on the stairs before saying that she's looking for really smart people to come to her school, and not fucking idiots like Mr. Tumble. Then she sings a song that I'm not listening to. The Tumbles fiddle with each other's noses, and then Miss Erie tells them to piss off back to the shed, to which they beg and plead, until eventually she takes Mr. Tumble into the school, and then Mr. Tumble has to leave Grandad Tumble in what might actually be the most emotional scene in anything ever. I'm not crying. Really, I'm not. Little Tumble tells Grandad to come back, he doesn't. And then there's this completely irrelevant laundry sequence, and Grandad Tumble basically says that Mr. Tumble is a slave to Miss Erie, and all he does is like her chores, which is very, very illegal. Mr. Tumble then miraculously ages 20 years and pricks around for a bit before he calls for the rest of his friends and no one shows up. We then meet Mr. Tumble's obvious love interest, Tootsie, and he rizzes her up for a bit with his Tumble Riz. I hope that death comes upon me. I apologize for saying that. We're then introduced to the other students, Shelley, who's an anxious little girl, Baxter, who's a fucking neek, and Pod, who is a depressed emo. It's then explained that Mr. Tumble has apparently been omitted from the school, because according to Miss Erie, he's shit at everything. Then she says that a famous opera singer, Costa Tenor, is coming to sing at the school, and she needs people to sing with him. But no one wants to, so Miss Erie is forced to get this pleb to do it. Beggars can't be choosers, Miss Erie, you twat. Mr. Tumble gets ready to sing, and Tootsie gets him some flowers because she's after some of that spotty dick. Mr. Tumble pulls his Bugs Bunny face, and then Costa Tenor comes on, and it turns out that he's a fat fuck. They sing the most dramatic version of Old MacDonald I've ever heard, and then Mr. Tumble ruins it by also becoming a fat fuck, to which Miss Erie doesn't really like because she's fat phobic. It turns out Costa Tenor is from Rochdale, not Rome. That's his own words, by the way. He says that in the show. And then he fucks off. Miss Erie is obviously pissed. She shanks up Mr. Tumble and he fucking dies. There's another song, then it's the end of Act 1. Only 38 more minutes of this crap. Act 2 opens up by Mr. Tumble being locked in the stinky-ass basement as punishment for fucking up the opera performance. Tootsie comes in and she does her thing, and then Baxter yaps. Shut up, Baxter. Miss Erie comes in, Mr. Tumble shits himself, and then pisses around with a mop. Or is it a broom? Miss Erie says that there's an inspection at the school, and then there's a massive, completely irrelevant scene where all of the other students get costumes for some reason. Like, why do you need costumes for a school inspection? This school is so incredibly stupid. Mr. Tumble then initiates the Spotty Bag for the first time, which is pretty crazy. More on my theory of how the Spotty Bag came into existence later on in this video, by the way. Mr. Tumble finally confesses his love to Tootsie, and then he gives her a bunch of balloons. She takes off and dies. Not really, but it's all really romantic. But romantic for a kid's show. They're not like shagging on stage or anything. Baxter tells everyone that he's lacking his something, which is definitely a euphemism for his cock. The inspectors show up. Once again, Mr. Tumble absolutely fumbles it, which really pisses off Miss Erie again. Like, is this bitch ever happy? Honestly. She then threatens to wipe off Mr. Tumble's spotty nose. No, not spotty nose, red nose, which might kill him or take away his Tumble's superpowers or something. So Mr. Tumble creams in her face and she laughs. Yep. In the act of creaming Miss Erie, Mr. Tumble has somehow given her humour, and then she loves Mr. Tumble at last. Like, only took you 10 bloody years, love. She makes Mr. Tumble's extremely long tie, which I didn't even notice he had until now, into his iconic bow tie, and then it's the end of the show and they all sing a song. Phew, that was a lot of mostly pointless information to take in. But now we know the backstory of Mr. Tumble, so this leaves us with many unanswered questions. How did Grandad Tumble reunite with Mr. Tumble? What happened to Tootsie, Mr. Tumble's obvious soulmate? And most importantly, where the fuck do these dons come into the story? Well, let's begin my theory and what happened after the tale of Mr. Tumble. And what better place to begin my explanation than the absolute cesspit of the internet that is Reddit. So I found a Reddit post on some subreddit that had an equally idiotic person as me awake at night questioning the legitimacy of Mr. Tumble's family, and they had some very interesting points to make about the Tumbles. The post explains that, as far as I can tell, Mr. Tumble and his granddad live in a cottage on Lord Tumble's estate, which this cottage is actually a shed in the back garden, so I don't know what sort of tudgy dealings have gone on here, but Grandad Tumble has really drawn a short straw having to live out in the sticks, while Lord Tumble lives in this big fuck-off house. But the confusion is created because, and I quote, Mr. Tumble doesn't seem anything like as posh as Lord Tumble and Aunt Polly, nor does Grandad Tumble, so I'm guessing that Lord Tumble and Aunt Polly are brother and sister, as they both have posh accents. And of course, Lord Tumble must be related to Mr. Tumble, and presumably Aunt Polly is Mr. Tumble's aunt, so Lord Tumble is Mr. Tumble's uncle. And as far as I can see, this is pretty understandable, but the problem is if Lord Tumble is Mr. Tumble's uncle, then who the fuck is Grandad Tumble? Grandad can't be Lord Tumble's father, because that would technically make him Lord Tumble, so it would mean that he's either the brother to Lord Tumble, or perhaps like some distant relative, like a cousin or something. However, and yes, I get that they're literally played by the same person, but if they look this similar to each other, I'm gonna rule out the idea that they're cousins, because I found that hard to believe that Lord Tumble and Grandad Tumble are anything other than brothers when they look like this. But then, that doesn't explain why Grandad Tumble and Mr. Tumble, who we now know as the adopted son of Grandad, have such different accents to their twin counterparts. And also, how is Mr. Tumble related to the other Tumbles if he was found out on the streets? There's so many goddamn plot holes in this, and it's so hard to understand, but I'll try and make it easier for your little brains, okay? I'll make a Tumble family tree to illustrate all of these issues for you. So, as you can see here, we got the mother of Lord and Grandad, and the father of Lord and Grandad, who for now I'm going to nickname Stephen Babs. I've also assumed Fisherman Tumble would be in this generation due to his age, as he's quite clearly a lot older than Tumblebobs here. In this explanation, Aunt Polly's the sister of the three brothers, but I've been thinking, and I think I've created a different explanation for who Aunt Polly is that would make like the whole existence of Mr. Tumble thing a whole lot more valid. So I was looking into Polly's behaviour around Lord Tumble, and I spotted a clear romantic chemistry going on with these two. Like, there's literally a sketch called Fruity Fun between them. It's so obvious. So apart from the fact that they both look exactly the same, I reckon Aunt Polly and Lord Tumble have been at it. And maybe, just maybe, they could be the biological parents of Mr. Tumble. Let me explain, okay? We know that Grandad Tumble and Mr. Tumble must be related in some sort of way, otherwise, why the fuck would Lil Tumble have the red nose? Also, we know that Grandad Tumble and Lord Tumble must be brothers now, and we also know that to create a human baby, that is assuming that the Tumbles are human. Let's just assume for now that they are, because I've already got enough of a headache as it is. Anyway, we know that to create a baby, we need a biological mother and a biological father. And seeing as Aunt Polly is literally the only female character in Mr. Tumble, I'm going to make the assumption that she may be the real mother of Mr. Tumble. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, you're probably thinking, why is this knobhead making a full-length documentary on Mr. Tumble? No, you're probably thinking, well, if Mr. Tumble had such perfectly good parents, then why was he abandoned on the side of the bloody M4 in the middle of December? Well, my friends, I don't think that Aunt Polly is really the kind, charismatic soul she comes across as on the surface. You see, there's one Tumble we're all forgetting here. The French one, Chef Tumble. Chef Tumble creates a problem in this whole theory that the Tumbles are all related, as unlike all of the other Tumbles, who are quite clearly born and bred as British lads, or come on Tumble, down to the King's Head for a pint and some ham, egg and chips. Go, come on Sheffield United, Sheffield United. No, he's definitely 100% guaranteed baguette and croissant eating French. Like, who would have thought the entire lore of Mr. Tumble comes down to the accents of each of the characters? This is so stupid. There's no real explanation for this accent, unless Aunt Polly had it off with some French bloke, the dirty tart. If we assume that Chef Tumble and Mr. Tumble are around the same age, because, well, they look quite similar. They look quite similar. Of course they look quite similar! Let's assume Mr. Tumble and Chef Tumble are near enough the same age. I think that Aunt Polly and Lord actually did try for a baby and resulted in Mr. Tumble. However, not long after, Polly hooked up with fucking French Pepe Emmanuel, who just so happened to be a chef at a certain restaurant containing rats. And as a result, oh dearie me, I'm having another baby, and oh dearie me, I seem to have cheated on my beloved husband. Whoopsie daisy, how about I cover up my tracks by maybe destroying the evidence, and then she incinerated baby Tumble with a flamethrower, and they all lived happily ever after. No, it's my belief that Aunt Polly actually quite liked this French bloke, and thought that the baby of him would likely prove more useful when it grows up than the offspring of this slightly tubby, buffooning, 3-time croquet championship in West Sussex and surrounding areas. So, she disguised Chef Tumble as Mr. Tumble, and then took the real Mr. Tumble out to the streets for some other poor person to look after, and then she went back to Lord Tumble, who suspected nothing because he's a fucking idiot, and they all lived happily ever after, playing croquet and drinking semi-skimmed milk. Bob's your uncle, Janice is your aunt, good morning, and good night. Except not really, because what Aunt Polly didn't expect to happen was for Lord Tumble's long-lost brother, Grandad Tumble, to walk past and find Mr. Tumble out on the streets. I am really stretching here now. Wow. So for some reason, Lord Tumble's predecessors, what I call them, Phil and Sue or something. Yeah, for some reason, Grandad and Lord Tumble's parents absolutely despised Grandad Tumble. Let's just assume it's because he was like the middle child between Lord and Fisherman Tumble, and he also started a band instead of pursuing his degree in law or something along those lines, I don't know. This resulted in Grandad Tumble cutting the ties with his family and going to live in his crack shed, where he smoked blunts and smashed lots and lots of pints of alcoholic beverages. We then have the whole Tale of Mr. Tumble thing. Mr. Tumble grows up to embrace being a plonker, that schmuck, and then we go to the second part of the Tumble story, which is where I'm going to explain to my best abilities, which aren't very good, what happened to Tootsie, Mr. Tumble's soulmate that he met while studying at Erie's Emporium of Excellence, or whatever it was called. You better get your tissues up, because this one's going to have you bawling. After graduation from Erie's Emporium with 3 F stars, a couple of Ds, and a boot up the ass from this Erie, Tumble and Tootsie reunited with Grandad Tumble at last, and they fulfilled their promise to travel the world together. Tumble and Tootsie grew old, Grandad Tumble grew older and started shitting himself, and it was all well until on the 32nd of October, 19... 98. I've literally just pulled that date out of my head. Tumble and Tootsie returned to Erie's Emporium to celebrate 10 years since their graduation. They were keen to replicate their iconic balloon scene once again, and so they did. Unfortunately, they put the job of filling up the balloons with helium in the hands of Grandad Tumble, who at this point, you know, dementia's starting to kick in, he's forgot where his own foot is, probably not the best person to trust with a large flotation device. Well, Mr. Tumble's a bit stupid, so he didn't consider that. So when he tied all the balloons to Tootsie to take to the skies, he realised just a tad too late that, oh shit, none of the balloons are fucking inflated, Grandad Tumble, you absolute melt. Unfortunately, it was too late, and by the time Mr. Tumble had realised that putting his lover's life in the hands of his dimension-ridden grandfather was probably a bad idea, Tootsie was reduced to little more than a spotty corpse, splattered all over the onlooking crowd below. Well, that took a dark turn. Anyway, Mr. Tumble was kind of sad about this, and Grandad Tumble felt bad, so he said, yeah, you know what, I'll make it up to you. So he showed Mr. Tumble his secret that he'd been keeping for many, many years. And it's not that he's a nonce, no. It's that he would finally show Mr. Tumble his real family. His true family. They returned at last to Tumble Manor, where Lord Tumble, Aunt Polly, and Chef Tumble resided. Lord Tumble still at this point had not figured out why his child was born with a French accent, but as I said, he's a fucking idiot. Fisherman Tumble is also here somewhere, but like he's kind of irrelevant, so let's just say he's tuna fishing out in the English Channel or something. Grandad Tumble breaks the news to his brother that Mr. Tumble is his real biological son, and Lord Tumble isn't really that bothered because he's just a chill guy who allows his wife to cheat on him with French men named Pepe and Manuel, although we all know it's because Lord Tumble is hiding an affair of his own. Mr. Tumble reunites with his birth parents and his brother, but decides that due to its sentimental value, he's gonna live in the shed with Grandad Tumble rather than the big old fuck-off house he could have. At this point, it's pretty clear that the Tumble's brains are not fully developed. So there you have it, my extensive theory into how the Tumbles came to be. It's quite long-winded, and there's definitely more than a few plot holes in this, but I just think it's kind of funny to think that this could be the real storyline of Mr. Tumble. But now, I'm going to throw it all out of the Spotty Bag, because we're going to move our focus towards the Spotty Bag and its significance to the story. For some reason, I thought it was really important to find out how the Tumbles could afford such a ginormous grand estate to live in, and no joke, my findings have led me down rabbit holes so stupid that I didn't even know they made rabbit holes that deep. Ladies and gentlemen, may I explain why Mr. Tumble's Spotty Bag, brace yourself for this, why Mr. Tumble's Spotty Bag means that Lord Tumble is actually Thomas Shelby. Yes, I do mean that Thomas Shelby, the hunky star of the hit show Peaky Blinders. I did not realize how many similarities it had to Mr. Tumble. It's genuinely crazy, okay? Let me explain. Mr. Tumble's Spotty Bag possesses abilities beyond this world. We've seen it do all sorts of things, from teleportation to time travel. It's truly a portal to alternate dimensions. So I believe that the Spotty Bag was created by the gods before Earth was even conceived. They all agreed that it should be given out of sympathy to a really, really stupid person who messes everything up. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm aware of this very, very stupid person who messes everything up. And it's not me, it's this guy. This is Ugg Tumble. He was Mr. Tumble's great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, although he wasn't actually very good, he's an absolute moron. What? Not too dissimilar from the Tumbles today. After mistaking his own toenail for a woolly mammoth and almost ending up dismembering himself trying to catch it, the almighty gods decided that he was the perfect person to be gifted the Spotty Bag, and along with it he was given a red nose that if he honked 3 times, it would signal for the gods to come to his aid. Unfortunately, Ugg was a moron, and he honked his nose so many times for literally no reason that the gods eventually just got pissed off and ignored him every time he honked it. So when he actually needed the gods' help, when being chased by a pack of rabid saber-toothed tigers, his cries for help were completely ignored and he was trampled to pieces. The bag was passed through generations of Tumble, Mike Tumble, Bob Tumble, Jill Tumble, Tumbleweed, and Tumble Dryer. And it possessed the ability to time travel between dimensions by just taking your hand, touching your nose, blinking 3 times, and bloody hell, off it goes! Lord Tumble was actually living off benefits for the mentally challenged when he came into possession of the bag. He was so poor, he wasn't even a lord. He decided to take matters into his own hands and use the Spotty Bag to time travel back to the slums of post-war Birmingham, where I can't where he changed his identity to Thomas Shelby and became a gangster. Oh my god, I am actually gonna get killed for saying this. So you are almost definitely now asking, where is even a tiny molecular piece of information to prove that what you're saying has any fact to it at all? They were both filmed in the same house. That's genuinely it. No, it's not actually. Aunt Polly, you know, the wife of Lord Tumble, she exists in Peaky Blinders too. Yes, she's not Thomas Shelby's wife, she's his aunt, but perhaps this was just a disguise. How has Mr. Tumble lore video affected the Peaky Blinders storyline? How? You asked for this. So yeah, Thomas Shelby is Lord Tumble, and that is how Lord Tumble has all his money. I don't know how he became a lord. He probably just bribed the prime minister or something. Who knows? Who even cares? Yeah, who's even watching at this point? Like, everyone has probably clicked off this video. Yet, after all of this concrete evidence to prove Mr. Tumble's backstory, there's still a big, ginormous, gaping hole in my theory. GiggleBiz. GiggleBiz is another show that was created in the success of Something Special, and holy, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. It contains sketches of Justin Fletcher playing the parts of certain characters like Keith Fit, the sports coach who was actually quite shit, and Rabbits Johnson, who to this day has never ever caught sight of his bear. Now this proves to be a bit of a problem if we're following the lore that I've set out in my previous theory, because I was going off the idea that Tumbles, although they look identical, work in the same way as a normal, everyday, regular family. They're humans, is what I'm trying to say. Now this theory works when looking exclusively at the Tumbles that are seen in Something Special, as we can create this sort of like family tree thing. However, if the GiggleBiz characters are also the Tumbles, which the likelihood is because they follow the same conventions as the Tumbles. In fact, like, the only difference between these characters and the Tumbles is the large red nose, which I already cleared up in my last theory, was gifted by the gods to whoever possesses the Spotty Bag or whatever. This is not confirmed, by the way. I literally just made it up. But I think that if we're concluding that the Tumbles are all from one family, then my theory cannot work, because all of these plonkers will create one big-ass family that would only work with the introduction of incest, and I really don't want to talk about that. So instead, I've conjured up from the depths of my almost certainly autistic mind a second theory. A theory that might even be more believable than the last. So take everything I've just told you in the last like 20 minutes or whatever, throw it away. It's useless. It's fake. It's dumb. Let's go back to square one. What if, instead of the Tumbles being members of a family who were gifted these special abilities, they were all in fact the same person? Yep. Whoever would have guessed that? I believe that Mr. Tumble is the one and only true Tumble, and all of these other ones are just duplicates of him that came around in some sort of failed human cloning experiment or something. You're probably like, where did I get that idea from? I stole it from Reddit. This comment reads, the interspecies thing also has me wondering about whether it's some sort of experiment. The interspecies thing referring to the fact that Mr. Tumble may not in fact be a human. Why do Tumble Ted and Lord Monkey both live together with Mr. Tumble? I'm wondering if these two are like weird clone hybrids, like Mr. Tumble's genes fused with those of a bear and Lord Tumble's genes fused with those of a monkey. I guess Dolly is fused with Aunt Polly's genes. I'll let you make your mind up for yourself with that one, but I mean, it is true, Mr. Tumble has got an unhealthy obsession with his teddy.
Little Teddy's coming in my ass.
But basically, the other Tumbles in this theory are a result of a failed experiment started by Mr. Tumble. A human cloning experiment that aimed to create duplicates of himself that are adapted for one specific function each. Like, you know, you got a chef, a fisherman, etc., etc. This theory also works when considering GiggleBiz in the same universe as Mr. Tumble, because also every character played by Justin has a specific job, like, you know, Keith Fit and Dina Lady. But they're all shit at it. Or maybe it's even more complicated than that. I've considered even the possible existence of an alternate reality for the Tumblers. Tumbler. Wait, that's a fucking image website. I was trying to mix Jupiter and Tumble together. Anyway, perhaps the Tumbles are actually aliens that came to Earth to take over our jobs, to take our people, steal our loved ones. They're pillaging our streets. They're ruining our environment. We must take action. We must stop them once and for all. Now is time for change. Sorry. I got a bit distracted. I got a bit distracted tonight. So yeah, the Tumbleverse exists. The Tale of Mr Tumble was all made up to hide the truth from us. Mr Tumble's actually evil, and yeah, alternate realities exist. Confirmed. At the end of the day, it's a fucking kids show. I don't think they really thought very deeply into the extended lore for Mr Tumble. They probably didn't even consider that some donut would spend days of his life analysing every single detail of the show, but here we are. Personally, I think both main theories that I came up with are valid, but you never know, it could all just be a tax dodge set up by Mr Tumble to try and make it seem like more than one person is living in the Tumble Manor. We may never know. The only way we could really find out the true backstory of Mr Tumble is by asking that Justin guy. You know, he seems to know the Tumble family quite well. Maybe he has the answers to all our questions. Well, I did some typing, and I've actually found Justin Fletcher's P.O. box. I'm gonna blur it, because I don't want all of my viewers sending him shit, but anyway, I've conjured up a plan. If I hit 10k subs, I'll write some fake fan mail and send it to Justin's P.O. box. Well, it's not fake fan mail, actually, because I am actually a fan of him. But inside this fan mail, I will write all of my theories. The Tumble family theory, the human cloning theory, and the Tumbleverse theory. And I'll ask one burning question. Can you confirm any of these, mate? I'll ask him if he can watch this video, and if I get any sort of response from him, which I in no way expect, I will make a follow-up video where I confirm the truths behind Mr. Tumble. But until such a day comes, we will probably never know but the truth behind the Tumbleverse, and I don't think anyone cares apart from me anyway. Hey, so I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a new style for me, so please tell me if you enjoyed, because I would love to make some more really stupid videos like this one. Once again, everything I said in this video was jokes, so don't go out and start a Mr. Tumble is an alien conspiracy theory, don't go and protest outside Tumble Manor, and I hope that I haven't ruined Peaky Blinders for you all. Make sure to subscribe, because oh my god, this video took a lot of time and effort to make. And remember, 10k subs and I will send the real Mr. Tumble this theory to make sure to share this video far and wide for the greater good. Bye guys.
Hi guys, power to all our friends, to the music that never ends, to the people. Shh. Sorry guys. To the people we wanna be, baby power to you and me.
See you later, Cliff Tumble.